Your source for all things Texas Tech. This is the Ask Level podcast from Double T 97.3.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome into another episode of the Ask Level podcast. I'm Chois Woodman with Chris Level. Thanks to our friends at Cantex Roofing and Construction for sponsoring the podcast.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Level, we had a very busy week last week on the field. It doesn't get any less busy if you're looking, off the court and field this week because it's signing day this week. You got portal potty going on just about everywhere, and it's pretty wild. But we'll look back first, Level, and how was your adventures in Fort Worth?
It was good, yeah, and I hesitate to even discuss anything as it relates to the portal for fear of it changing in 5 minutes or being severely outdated by the time that someone may listen or watch this, as it is wild out in them streets, as they say. Great in Cowtown. I thought it was a fun Saturday for. As much as it was probably frustrating to those that would have attended one or both of these had it been made been an option and with some time in between, because there's a lot of people that this is what they go travel with these teams, or they go to a bowl game, or they go to especially when the basketball team or whoever is playing in the Metroplex. But that, again, it was frustrating. These things were going simultaneously. Trust me, I felt very torn. I felt, just guilty, and you feel like you want to be a part of both, and you feel like you're letting somebody down. But yeah, the situation in Fort Worth was good. Texas Tech controlled the game throughout. I want to say there was, I don't know. It's an arena that holds about 12,500 when full. I would say there was probably 3,000 to 5,000 Tech fans there, give or take. I mean, a pretty strong, just kind of spread out. That's the problem, is it wasn't all like condensed into whatever. They just kind of taken over the arena. But not much Vanderbilt flavor to speak of. But yeah, you just kind of controlled the game from the tip, really. And I think sent them to bed early. 26 made field goals on, there's 22 assists there that helps you score those 26. I mean, Pop Isaacs, he shot it better early. He missed some shots late, but he shot it better early. But it was 7 assists to 1 turnover that I think really pleases you there. Joe Toussaint did not carry you in scoring on this night. You had Chance McMillan score 14 points, all of those in the second half. Kerwin Walton, double figures again, and 3 block shots. I mean, all of a sudden he's like Ben Wallace out here with the rebounds and the block shots and all these things. So it's just been wild to kind of see them change who they are. Darion Williams didn't play his best game. But it was your last opportunity for a decent win. This is a Vanderbilt team that was, I think, 21-15 last year. They were 11-7 in the SEC. They won at Tennessee last year, and a bulk of those guys are back. So they have struggled with injuries this year, but it's a decent win. Has a chance to be better if Vanderbilt will kind of get things turned around. But yeah, you definitely look like the team that was a well-oiled machine, and they did not.
Yeah, really liked what we saw on Saturday night, because this was kind of your next measuring stick before conference play, and Tech measured up well. And one name you mentioned in particular, last time you and I talked, Kerwin Walton was coming off that first double-figure scoring game, and the question for us was, okay, is this a one-off, or is this the new normal for Kerwin Walton? And it seems like it is that new normal.
Well, it's a 3-off now. I mean, he's done it 3 games in a row to a certain extent in a starting role. he's shooting. I mean, he went into that game versus Vanderbilt shooting from, I think, from three, 59%. That's
Wow.
insane.
That's nuts.
Absolute insanity. Hotter than the face of the sun. But it's, we knew that was there, but it's him putting the ball on the floor, creating his own shot.
Yep.
He's facilitating a bit. Now he got in the mix on the defensive end with the block shots. Against Oral Roberts in that of the three games, the middle one there, he's diving on the floor for a loose ball. It's just kind of a different guy right now. Again, and it's, can you do it over a 10-game span? Can you do it in league play? Because that's really when you'll find out is when you need it in that 18-round fight known as Big 12 conference play, which is going to be brutally hard
Yes, it
on
is.
some nights. And you are in a position where you've got to have it from him and others too. But yeah, 8-2, and you've got UTA this week, but on getaway day for the team before they kind of disperse for the Christmas holidays. It's a 1 p.m. tip on this Thursday, and then the guys will get away and they'll come back Christmas night typically, and then you play, I think, Sam Houston on the 28th. Then you've got Northern Alabama early in the day on New Year's Day, and then it's Austin, and it's just Oklahoma and
OSU.
TCU,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
it's just it's like adversity's right around the corner. You just kind of peek around there. It's staring back at you. It just depends on, you don't have to look around the corner yet if you
Not
don't
yet.
want, but there's two eyes on you. But it's just like, if you don't want to make eye contact just yet, it's like Southwest Airlines. You just kind of if you want to keep that middle seat open, just don't look up.
Yeah, just don't
Look.
look up.
It's like the Seinfeld episode with George Costanza when he's like, I've realized that if you just look really annoyed, people will think you're really busy.
Yeah. Yeah. So
How's it
avoid
going? Oh, I'm doing fine. I'm fine. I've got a lot going on. So, anyway. Yeah. But yeah,
So
adversity is near.
yeah, and I think it shows the importance of this year. You do have a small few teams that are down in this league. Some years there's zero off nights. I'm not calling these off nights, but the OSU's, the West Virginias, the UCFs of the league are not as good as a lot of the other teams. You took care of business against Vanderbilt. I think it accentuates the importance of being able to win those games and making sure once league play gets here, you can't lose any of those that you're supposed to win.
Yeah, like to your point, like let's just take the first four conference games.
Yeah.
2 home, 2 away. In Austin, home versus Oklahoma State, home versus Kansas State, and then at Houston.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 road games are going to be 2 of the top teams in the league.
Brutal.
And then one of those home teams is an Elite 8 team from last year that's playing great basketball right now.
Yep.
It just speaks to, I mean, the problem is that Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Central Florida, Cincinnati, BYU, whoever you want to look at on paper and kind of go, yeah, they're still good enough to beat you if you don't play really well. And that's the problem. So that's what makes this league so tough and going to be much better next year. But yeah, it'll be kind of fascinating as because and then the 5th game, is home versus BYU, and then at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's been not very good in recent years. They're one of the bright spots in the entire league.
They are.
They've got a big matchup versus North Carolina and they're undefeated and ranked, I think, top 10 or 12 in the country all of a sudden. So yeah, go figure.
Yeah, league is going to be tough. We've said that year after year after year, but it may be even tougher this year than it's ever been. So there's basketball. Coming off of a football weekend where the Red Raiders get the record back to the winning side to finish up 7-6 on the year, following a 34-14 win over Cal. This is one of those games where you get off to about as bad of a start as possible, but turn it around pretty quick.
Yeah, the first two plays are regrettable. It's like when you show up to the casino and you lose initially, and then you sit there and you try to get it all back at the casino, and knowing that, okay, am I going to lose twice as much, or am I gonna break even? But yeah, you're like, man, can we get a redo? Yeah, it's kind of like and you're
I
sitting
like
here.
the
I did
casino reference after Shreveport, by the way. There was lots of casinoing.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there was, and a lot of extra time to be there to casino,
Yeah, yeah,
if one wanted to dabble. I don't know anybody like that per se,
yeah.
but
Me neither.
anywho, yeah, but the beginning of the game was kind of like it was kind of like your season in a way, and the game kind of played out like it was a microcosm of your season.
Sure.
You saw what you're capable of, but then you also saw what you're capable of, kind of thing. And I did a radio interview recently after the bowl game had concluded, and the question was, okay, now you're 7-6. You see what they were able to do. It's done. It's put to bed. How do you sum up the season? And I was like, man, if it was an emoji, I'd probably do the palms up, like the shoulder shrug kind
Shoulder
of
shrug.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was all over the place, and so much of it had to do with injury or availability or whatever. But I
Yeah.
think people saw a healthier Baron, and I think you see some glimpses there, minus about 15 players. And I think that's one of the things that probably nobody's made a big enough deal about is that you were missing a lot of your defensive front,
Yep.
and yet you held Jaden Ott to 42 yards rushing and I think 2.8 yards per carry. Whether that's want to, or whether that's scheme, or whether that's whatever, I mean, it was impressive because that's what really scared you. And you saw on a couple of runs early in the game, he got kind of the perimeter and got loose, and you're like, oh man,
Right.
this is somebody get there, because he's got some. I mean, they put him in the slot. They let him play kick returner. They were really trying to manufacture touches for him. But I think that's one of the things that was a really a bright spot in this game, was how much you limited him in the run game, because that you could tell that was really one of the only things they had going for them from a playmaking standpoint.
Sure. Sure. There's no question about that. And, I think I walk away from this game extremely happy with production from
You you
young
you
talent.
walked away from this game and walked straight to the casino.
What
That's
are you
what you did.
talking about? Not
It's
not
purely
straight there.
purely speculation on my part.
Oh,
Okay.
speculation. Not straight
Yeah,
to the
that's right.
casino.
That's
There
right.
was there was a little
Seven
time in
seven come
between.
11, high and low. Look out, baby! It's the come out roll.
No,
Yeah,
I
rolling them bones.
I come away and I was really impressed with young talent and production. And we see that in bowl games at times, but man, what you got out of Coy Aiken, what you got out of Amir Washington, a true freshman.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Esther's was big that night. You had so many of these young guys that had to kind of be forced into producing moments, produce.
You're missing so much of your receiver core. You're
Yep.
missing so much of your defensive front. You had to reshuffle your offensive line quite a bit. And I think what was interesting, and I mean, it's you have to look closely and kind of study it to get a true feel for it. But a lot of the pieces that you were missing spilled over into special teams, like Nehemiah Martinez, for example. I think he was on every special teams unit you had.
Yeah.
JJ Sparkman on every special teams unit you had. Guys like that. They weren't at this game. They did not play or participate. And so you have to adjust a lot of that, and that's where a lot of your redshirt freshmen, your John Currys, your Marcus Ramon Edwards,
Yeah.
your Kelby Valsons, all these kinds of guys spill over into that, and it was good experience for those guys. But my bottom line is, people will look at this season, and that's kind of the conversation I had when I was doing this radio interview. I was like, man, you can dice this thing any way you want it, and it wasn't what you had hoped. The bottom expectation, is the bare minimum, I should say, is getting to one of these types of games.
Yeah.
And all that you want to start to aim for more. but you can point to disappointment. You can point to 1-3 or 3-5. At some point, you can point to the injuries, and you could point to what all was wrong. The flip side is here's all the things you can point to that it just depends on kind of what you're looking for. You win 4 of your last 5 games, okay, and you won out last year and won 4 in a row, so you're 8-1 in your last 9 games in these last 2 regular seasons. The only loss being to Texas in Austin, and they're going to play for the in a semifinal game, a national semifinal game. You've won back-to-back bowl games, had back-to-back winning records, had back-to-back winning records in the Big 12. The 3 bowl wins in a row goes back. There's a lot of momentum for this team and program and all those things, but it's all about now. Can we not finish strong? Can we not start strong too? Can we keep our quarterback
Sure.
healthy? Can we kind of push through and kind of take the next step? And this is what everybody wants to do. It's hard to get it done, and you just keep throwing punches until you try to land one. But there's a lot to like about how you finish this thing up. And I'm not going to apologize for ever winning a bowl game. Is not everybody gets to go. Baylor and TCU would have loved to have gone to a bowl game, but
Sure they would.
not made available to them. Yeah,
So that's to your point. That's last year you finished on a 4-game winning streak. This year you win 4 out of 5 to close out the season. So that is the question. Can you get it done a little earlier? Can you stack some more wins early? But Level, do you walk away from this game feeling any differently than you did going into it? Or does the game have an effect on your outlook for next season or anything
about
like that?
next year.
Yeah, really about next year.
Yeah, well, there's an old saying. I've told Debbie McGuire this saying a couple of times
Okay.
because it's not about if your glass is half full or it's half empty. It's about who's pouring the water. And like I really feel like with Joey in charge, he's the one pouring the water, right? So it doesn't matter if it's half full or if it's half empty. He's the one that's in charge of how full that glass is.
Sure.
And I think you want to assess the situation after the portaling is done. That they are trying to address their offensive line was the biggest need in the portal. You're trying to address several things on your right, trying to get faster, and all those things. But ultimately, how I would answer that is that I think you see some glimpses. We all know what he's capable of, but next year, really, it boils down to Baron Morton. Is he the answer, like many of us hope?
Yeah.
And can you keep him healthy, like many of us hope that you can?
Yep.
Because if the answers are no to either one of those questions, if he's not the answer, if you can't keep him healthy, so much else of what we'll talk about is a moot point, and that's just the reality of the situation, as we have seen over the last 7 to 10 years. With quarterback injuries and all those things. Doesn't mean you can't be good
Sure.
and compete and do some different things. But it just you're ready to take a next step. Well, that's kind of what must come with it, is that you need some QB health.
Here's one from the Twitter. Jacob asks, Level, any feedback from Kitley or Bear regarding wireless communications or the tight end or TD's group is what it says, but
Oh, Baron.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't have any feedback from them after the game. I knew I had various and I did some media stuff with those guys for the with both of them actually before the bowl game and everything like that, and I think they both liked it. I don't know. I'd be interested to hear how it worked, what they liked, didn't like, because see now you're going to go back to that was a one-off for right now. I don't think they will pass this in time for it to be available for next season, because the technology and the budgets and all. I just don't know if there's enough done yet, but they wanted to try it to kind of jumpstart this process. So next year you're still back to hand signals and the boards with, a deck of cards or Dolly Parton or I don't know, Screech from Saved by the Bell are on there or Walter Payton. Who the heck
Yeah.
knows? I don't know. There's all kinds of I'm like, what is that? I mean, there's just,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, it's all kinds of stuff. So you'll have that back and hand signals and all that stuff next season because I don't think this will be in place. But I think that it's coming. It's a matter of when and then how it works. What do they actually allow?
Yeah.
Is there a cutoff time? I mean, all the things.
Yeah. So, here's one from Leah on Twitter. Will Xavier White, Loic Fungi, or Dre McCray be back next year? On special teams, will Coach Perry be back? And what about Jackson Knotts? So that's a 5-parter for you.
Of those, yeah, of those people, I only expect Dre McCray and Kenny Perry to be back.
I think
But
I know we've discussed this before. I went and looked, and Jackson Knotts is listed as a junior on the roster. So I don't know what if he's got eligibility left or not.
okay, I need to determine that. He's got a pretty substantial surgery
Yeah.
coming up that I think is going to take him out for a pretty lengthy period of time.
Right.
And I'd be curious to know, even if he could come back, if he's even healthy enough to do so.
Correct. Yeah.
Because it unfortunately, yeah, I'll do my best to check on that. But yeah,
But
they ask about Loic.
Loic,
Loic is going to end up at either Vanderbilt or UTSA. Who's
okay.
the other one?
Xavier White, he's out of.
Xavier White is yeah, he's done. He's out of years to play, and he's going to try to, I think, play at the next level in some form or fashion, whether that's XFL, whether that's, trying to catch on in the camp or whatever. Hopefully he gets a shot at it, but
Yeah.
he's, he's still hard to tackle. That's for sure. He was your best guy after the catch all year long. And that's what you're desperately trying to upgrade.
So the one you mentioned there, with Loic Fungi, he played in the bowl game, obviously. The other one that played in the bowl game, Cameron Valdez, announced recently that he's going to come back to Texas Tech. So, no, that wasn't one of the questions, but
yeah, and the thing about Cameron is that I think the initial thought was that, look, once Taj Brooks comes back, I mean, you kind of go from like, man, I might get to be the dude around here to,
right.
damn, like, no dude for me, man, not for
Sure.
another year.
Sure.
And I mean, he's still, I think he's well liked in the locker room. I think he's got to be more durable. And maybe this extra year in the program or another year here or off season will allow him to kind of add some more strength and just get healthier and all the different things that you need him to do. But he is yeah, I think what happened is he was trying to find out if he could go re-engage with any of the programs that recruited him out of high school other than Tech.
Mm-hmm.
But you're talking like that list was like Utah and Michigan and I mean, and I think that he probably didn't get much traction there if he kind of was.
Sure.
So I think that yeah, it's back to the Red Raiders it goes. And that's okay. And that's I think you weren't. There's some of these guys that you've been like, hey man, appreciate it, good luck to you.
Right.
Not necessarily sad to see him leave, or hey, with what you want, with what we can give you as far as a role goes, that's just not going to happen here.
Yeah.
And so good luck to you. And I think Cameron, he was just kind of wanting to see maybe he could play more and didn't burn any bridges and realized, okay, I don't know if I had some of those opportunities but it's not like he's wanting to go to play at a group of 5 school or something.
Right.
So he's just going to stay here and bide his time one more year.
Yeah. And again, that may not be the worst thing for either party. We'll see what happens there. Like you mentioned at the beginning, talking portal, talking that sort of thing is dangerous because it is a ever-changing landscape. But it seems like as a whole, Texas Tech has gotten quite a few offensive linemen. You mentioned it last time we were on together, but you've offered a ton of offensive linemen. That seems to be quite the focus in this portal. You've also got a couple of receivers that it should be big help, but it's pretty obvious what the focal points are for this coaching staff when you look at who they've landed so far.
Yeah, I'm going to be careful about mentioning names or
Yeah,
nailing things down and talking in absolutes for fear that it's different. But at the end of the day, you're going to end up signing. Between I bet you end up signing 4 offensive linemen out of the portal when all is said and done. I bet you end up taking 2 to 3 receivers, 2 to 3 tight ends. And I don't think you're in the market for a running back now that Cameron is back, Taj Brooks is back. I don't think there's any need because you're adding
sure.
Cameron Dickey and Quan Willis, I think is going to be a name that people hear from. You could see some, does Bryson Donnell want to go play more elsewhere? I mean, there's, I don't know. But I think at the end of the day, offensive line continues to be the focal point. And then I do think you need. I'm not going to get into the reasons why because there's been some movement there as it relates to your recruiting class, but you need some more beef up front with your defensive tackle position.
Yeah.
I think you'll look to take 1 or 2 there, an older, more matured type of player there to allow your. It's the same premise with the offensive lineman that you take. You want to allow your young guys that you've signed more time in the oven, man. I mean, it's like when you're sticking the toothpick into the cake and it's like you pull it out and it's like still got the batter onto it. It's kind of where you're at with some of these guys. And
I'm
so
still
you
okay with a little
want
batter.
to, most people aren't though. Like the
Okay.
chef that's in charge is going to go,
Nope.
okay, yeah, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. This, yeah, these guys, they want to try to give them some more time. And so it's kind of best of both worlds. Like, we're going to give them some time, but we're also going to be really good immediately. But that's the hope. That's ideally what you're hoping. So
Right on.
in total, probably somewhere close to like 6 linemen between your offensive line and your defensive tackle position when all is said and done. So.
So here's a question that we got, and there has been some movement recently. This one's an email question from Josh. Says, with signing day this week, do you expect there to be any sort of defections from Tech or late additions by Tech?
Well, I think you always expect surprises, and surprise can be good or bad. Things are never really boring that day. If that makes sense. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, hey, everything fell into place just like we wanted it to. Whether somebody pulled one of your kids, whether you pulled one of somebody else's, but there's less and less drama as the years have gone along on signing day. But yeah, there's lots of signing day flips and things like that. Do I know of anything possible there or expected? No. But yeah, you've had a couple of late additions to technically your recruiting class. It's hard to even determine what's part of the portal entry or the
yeah,
recruiting class. I mean, it's like it kind of the lines are a bit blurred there. But yeah, you've had at least at the time that we're sitting here talking, you've had a couple of junior college kids that you added
sure.
to the mix late to the process, kind of decide elsewhere is best for them. And so, but as far as your high school kids, I think that you'll largely be intact. But do you lose somebody? Do you add somebody? Head on a swivel.
Yeah,
We shall see.
yeah. I never really know
Especially when
that.
you're dealing with a 5-star like Micah Hudson.
What are you trying to say?
Well, I'm just saying there's lots of interest. That's what I'm trying to
Oh,
say.
okay, okay. Not that you're gonna lose. No, so speaking of that, are guys like Hudson and Hammond, those that were a few of those? I think there were maybe 9 or 10 total guys that were supposed to be on campus. Are they on campus now, or do they? How's
No,
that
they're
working?
not because you're on a break now. I mean, had you bowled it was literally the worst case scenario from the
Yeah.
standpoint of when you went to a bowl game.
Right.
Because they had to, what had to be determined is like, when is the last day of their high school semester to where they can satisfy everything that they need to do so they can go, okay, I am officially done. And that's different or slightly different for each high school. And I think for both of those guys, it was basically mid to late last week. And for a lot of schools, like in Lubbock, for example, that's basically this week, and all that. So you just kind of were it was the perfect storm or the unperfect storm for you to be able to get a lot of those guys around and available and all that. So I think they'll just show up at the team meeting on January the 9th, I think
Mhm.
it will be. Yeah, so they'll move in on the 6th and show up to the classes and team meeting on the 9th, and away we go.
Last question from the audience. This one from Matt. Says, Level, a lot of Red Raiders bought into hype and got burned this season. Will there be reason for hype next year?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can you buy into hype, but does anybody signing up for buying into it and then going, you mean my quarterback broke his leg in the
Yeah.
third or fourth game, or the guy that replaces him jams his shoulder into the turf, not running the ball, mind you, just getting flushed from the pocket and getting tackled on the fourth play, and then it's like, okay, hype or not, who that's the thing. But this is why sports are the best reality TV there is, because there's no script for it. We will spend the next however many months talking about what we think we know. There will be plenty of feedback that we get on this podcast and any other platform that you're on, Woodman, and that I'm on.
Yep.
Not listening, not gonna do it, not getting my hopes up. And the other
Sure.
people be like, dude, if we won 4 of our last 5, if we keep certain guys healthy, there'll be people all in between.
Look at
And
the home
that's the fun.
schedule.
That's the fun part about it.
Yep.
That's right. I do think there'll be a lot less talking about you as a program and winning the league as the dark horse candidate. I think people will back off of that
Sure.
just because of your past example here.
Mhm.
Okay. But there are a lot of things to like about your team. The schedule being one of them. Home schedule, your quarterback, who's now very experienced, if you can just keep him healthy. And it depends on what you do in the portal, but you've replaced a lot of what you've lost here. So and you've got arguably your team MVP and Taj Brooks coming back. So there's a lot to like on paper. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but do I think you'll be relevant next year? Oh yeah, I do. But
Yeah.
am I gonna? Now, I didn't pick you to win the league this year. People are going to conveniently forget too. This team wasn't picked to win the league. They were picked to finish 4th. You finished 7th. You weren't preseason ranked top 25. It's like I've heard all these conversations about these guys were predicted to win the league, and they were 500 team. I didn't see anybody picking them to win the Big 12. Okay, I saw a lot of people dark horse to win it. We saw some outside dark horse candidate to make the playoff.
Yep.
Fell way short of these things. And we've kind of gone into why, some of these things.
Sure.
I mean, think about, as much as your injury to Shuck and Barron was, think about how much that injury to Jacob Rodriguez meant to you.
Yeah.
Guess what? You haven't lost a game in which he has started and finished. And that was TCU, that was Kansas, that was Central Florida, and that was Cal. He started all those. You won all 4 of them. The one that he starts and can't finish, recovering a fumble, mind you, at Wyoming. But how much does he mean to you?
Quite a bit.
And like he missed the bulk of the year. And so, but again, injuries happen. You got to figure a way around it. And so it's up to. We'll talk about what we think we know and what we like, what we don't like, what makes us nervous, and all those things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's up to you to kind of decide how much you want to emotionally invest.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. That's what I do. That's why it sucks when you lose, and I love it when you win. You know, I mean, I kind of let it hang out.
Sure.
Cowboys win. I enjoy the heck of it. When they lose, I'm madder than a hornet. And that's the fun part, right? You know, so anyway.
Yeah, no, good answer. Good answer. And by the way, Jacob Rodriguez and Ben Roberts together for a whole season, if you could get that, that sounds pretty good to
Yeah,
me.
I mean that's
Uh,
I mean, think that was one of the biggest that and kicker, maybe two of your biggest questions
that's
coming
true.
into the year.
That's true.
And now it may be one of arguably one of the strengths of your entire team.
I would say,
You know, I mean,
yeah,
Josiah Pierre, before this podcast, Josiah Pierre jumped into the portal. He's got 1 year left. Why does he do this? Well, I mean, it's pretty well established, you know, Ben and Jacob, and then you've got Justin Horn and Mike Dingle and John Curry. And, I mean, and on it goes behind them, and they're young, they can run. And so, you know, but that's a direct correlation. And this is the reason that the portal is there.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so one more question, but this one's for me. Important stuff because this is our last podcast we're going to record before Christmas. We'll take a break for Christmas. So, Level, top 5 Christmas movies.
Home Alone is tops. I think
Good
Home
answer.
Alone 2. Home Alone 2, I'm gonna put it in the top 5, you know. Elf, Christmas Vacation, and golly. Does like one of those TV specials count?
Like which
If
one?
it's hour long, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh
I was
yeah,
a
that
mark.
no,
I
that
was a mark
counts.
for that when I was a kid, man.
Counts.
You
Yeah,
know, a
completely.
train with square wheels. You know, the Island of Misfit Toys, right?
Yeah.
Right?
The
The
Babes in
water pistol
Toyland.
that shoots jelly. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm rocking with. Home Alone 1 and 2, Elf, Christmas Vacation, and yeah, and then Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's where I'm. And I will say though, in its own category, because it's absolutely a Christmas movie, Die Hard
There he
is on the list. But I'm not gonna besmirch these other movies by associating it with the greatness of Die Hard. Nakatomi Plaza, Never Be the Same Again, Christmas Party, and the whole thing. Christmas movie, yes.
You're
I'm dying on that hill, man.
you're correct.
Um,
I mean, you're completely wrong when it comes to pineapple on pizza, but Die Hard is a Christmas movie. So we're good. We're
yes.
good on that front. All right, man. Well, Level, I appreciate the time and have a very Merry Christmas. Spend some good time with the family, and we'll talk to you soon, man.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. I'm not sure when we'll do. We'll be back around the first of the year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, there'll be some basketball played between them. But yeah, we'll definitely be here with you before, I don't know, around New Year's, before conference play gets going for hoops. But appreciate everybody for listening to these podcasts. Woodman is nice enough to spend some time with me. Thank you to the folks at Cantex Roofing and everybody at Raymar Communications and Double T 97.3, my whole family there, and all that good stuff. But yeah, appreciate everybody listening. Guns up. Keep your head on a swivel with this portal stuff, folks.
Yeah.
And yeah, keep hope alive. Woodman, appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. That's Chris Level. I'm Chois Woodman. You've been tuned in to the Ask Level podcast right here, powered by Double T 97.3.
You've been listening to the Ask Level podcast, powered by Double T 97.3.